No, Sam, you've got it completely wrong. It's a bit like an autopilot, but it's called the auto piglet. But the one thing you think you could do with an auto piglet avoids the warranty. It does. Yeah. What do you think about that? Can you touch your nose with your tongue while you're doing that? You're listening to the Beat Motel podcast, and we need to warn you that we like to use words like fuck, shit, and syndicalus, boxy scrotux, angry flap, and foot biscuits. And we don't often bleep those words out, apart from because we're not complete animals. But if you understand that and you like music, then listen on. Hey, you're back with Beat Motel. We're going to talk some shit. Dr. Sam, what's wrong with your face?
It's just the wind changed whilst I was holding it.
The wind changed while you were pulling your face.
No, I was just thinking when you said that. My head is quite susceptible because I'm follically challenged. The hats sort of make a real sort of like dent. You can still see like
they make a dent in your forehead that makes you look like you've had a lobotomy, just like a line right across the middle of your head.
And I went out cycling and I had a cycling cap on, and it, as you get older, your skin doesn't bounce like it used to. So it's like I look like I've had a lobotomy for about an hour or so afterwards.
Confusingly, your testicles do bounce more than they did when you were young. They end up like a couple of. There's Newton's cradle.
Yeah.
If you've had like 4 testicles, like that.
Is it? Do you get to the point where your balls are lower than your penis now?
Yeah, I have to tuck them into things. I tuck them into my socks.
Do you divide them down the trouser legs, or they
define them? They define themselves.
Divide them down the trouser legs. So one sock, one testicle.
Well, I think they're loosely connected together. They're quite a long way away from my face, so I haven't had a good close look ever. I've never squatted over a mirror.
And after this, we know what Andrew's doing.
I
didn't know that was there.
So how did you get evicted from your office? Well, they walked in, I was squatting over a mirror. Oh, we are such classy bastards, aren't we? This is. I've been making more videos for work thing, talking about how important it is to be yourself, and I think I have to draw a line somewhere. I can't go quite that far. But oh man, I'm just making a note of that because that was good testicle chat for the new
chat,
new trailer when I eventually kind of get that
testicle chat for
testicle.
But seriously, men, do check your testicles because there might be a watch down there. Is that the old Monty Python thing?
I was about to say something which, no, I'm going to move on. I found out through means that I don't care to divulge that some car thieves sellotape the keys to the back of their testicles. Well, a policeman told me. It's not that secret, really. But I just can't think that. Sure, many years ago, if you were stealing like a Morris 1000, actually old cars, used to get a different key for each door and a different key to starting it, so that'd be like a little bunch. But a lot, my wife's Prius, it's just like a block thing.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because in a lot of modern cars, you don't even have a key anymore. The block just needs to be inside the car.
We have to shove the block in. We have to shove the block in my wife's slot, I was about to say. We have to shove the thing, the round thing. But other ones, you just have to have it in your pocket. Or just have the app, apparently.
It's very good that you didn't say that thing you were about to say about shoving the block into your wife's slot.
I dodged a bullet there. But I was just thinking, just the logistics of sellotaping car keys to the back of your knackers. Do you just do it blind, or do you squat over the aforementioned mirror?
You get a friend.
Get some help from a friend, yeah. But what happens if you're a really busy car thief? Surely you just police.
I can't find the right key. Where's the Asda key? I got Asda.
I drive one of those Asda Martinis. I do.
That shows you how much I know about cars.
The first time I had a martini was at your wedding, and I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but
was that like a espresso martini, one of those.
I don't know what it was, but Andy, mutual friend Andy, who I might hope to get him as a guest on this. I think it'd be brilliant. He has featured as a voice clip in the past, but he was like, "Have you ever had a martini?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "I need to buy you a martini." He came back from the bar. He was like, "That's fucking £26." So what I naturally, which is dumb as fuck of us, because you brewed loads of beer for us to drink, so you owe us no sympathy. But because he came back and I knew how much he'd spent, I was like, "Look, I'm going to have to buy you one back." So instead of having one, we both had two, and that was the point at which I decided I needed to go home.
I want to be my wife. What is it? Yeah, and I think we paid for quite a lot of wine as well. So basically, we covered like the basics, and Sanna's father, my wife's father, covered a lot of champagne, I think, as well. Or maybe my mum did. I can't remember.
I didn't know there was champagne. I just ate and drank and was merry. It was probably my favourite wedding, actually, because it was.
I enjoyed myself.
I had no responsibilities at all. I was doing wedding photography a bit in the past, and it sort of gives you PTSD. And you go to somebody else's wedding, and you're like twitching about kind of knowing all the shit that goes on in the background. But this is a music podcast, so shall we have your riff of the week?
No, let's talk about weddings. Whose weddings have you found the dullest?
Oh, blimey. The dullest one was probably it's not one of Emma's my wife's cousins. It's some sort of close relative. And he married somebody he met in I'm going to say the Philippines. And nobody really knew anyone. And it was the worst wedding in some ways because we were the furthest point from where the food comes out.
Oh.
So when they got to us, they were like, yeah, sorry, we haven't got your choices. We've run out of them. Here's all the shit no one else wants. It's all kind of like dried up and crappy. Something that when I had got married,
Well, I got married.
There's some proper stuff coming through there. I would just do a thing that we went to a friend's wedding, a couple that we worked with, and they're both, I was about to say middle-aged, they're probably my age now. But instead of having like the wedding breakfast, they did a potluck lunch. So they said, everyone who's come to the wedding, please bring a dish, your favourite dish that you like to make for people. So we went to the church hall afterwards, and they asked me to play the organ. It's like, I don't know why they thought I could play an organ. But it was just a lovely thing to do because people then just sort of wandered around the buffet and
just going, this free jazz is a bit much.
I should have just said yes, shouldn't I? And just go like ominous creeping noises kind of throughout the service. But hilarious, fun time. What's the most dull wedding you went to?
Probably my aunt's when I was a kid. So I was like 8 years old and didn't want to be anywhere near grown-ups, and
Fuck, I'm 48. I don't want to be anywhere. I know that sounds bizarre, doesn't it? I'm not going to finish that sentence.
But there was one we went to ages ago in France, and that had the potential to be quite dull, but it was on a farm outside Paris, and I think the bride's father maybe was into home brewing, and he had brewed to like proper farmhouse French beer, and it was like we just stood around drinking that for hours. It was great.
Well, that sounds okay, doesn't it?
Yeah.
My dad used to say it's not a proper wedding till there's been a punch-up. But that might say more about kind of growing up in Ipswich than anything else.
So, who had a punch-up at your wedding then?
Our wedding was just us two and brothers and sisters, mums and dads. It was nobody. I told them we gave my mum, our family, 2 weeks' notice, and the first thing my mum said is that you can't get married then. I've got a holiday booked. Would you mind cancelling it? I
think it is. Like, I got a friend of mine who I'm very sad not to have gone to his wedding because it was in America. It's like, I'd come, but you're giving us like no notice, and tickets to the US are shit.
Oh well, they only
now they're very cheap. I have to say
tickets. Oh, how cheap are they? You and I need to go to New York at some point. No, really do. I mean, I've got a friend of mine. His dad, who I adore. Oh, Johnny Culture. So Johnny, the original drummer, John Culture. His dad. I haven't seen Johnny for years, but his dad I get on really well with, and they used to do. Him and his wife used to do what you might call disaster tourism. So this is a while ago, but if there'd been a natural disaster somewhere, they'd go on holiday the next year. And we all thought we thought it was like just because it's really cheap, but his argument was that no, actually, these places rely on tourism, so they're kind of helping out. And like this is years ago, and I'm still thinking I'm not sure what.
Not sure about that.
I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure where that is.
Just if you go to America, just take eggs. They don't have a lot of eggs at the moment.
What is that about? That's such an odd thing.
I don't know. Maybe they're really worried about, I don't know, do soufflés use eggs?
Sorry, I've just looked. Flights to New York from anywhere, any London airport, are cheaper than when we went to Obama's inauguration.
Yep.
£340.
Is that return or is that one way?
So it says non-stop, and I always think that's odd for an Atlantic flight. I'm like, where's it going to stop? Like, there's some fishing boat in the middle of the Atlantic or something with jumbo jets just go boom. I love showing my ignorance. £190. Is this how we plan the first New York episode of Beat Motel?
I can't justify leaving a small wife and big child.
Small wife. Well, yeah, so I'm massively distracted by that. But yeah, the eggs thing, I don't know. I grew up during the 80s, so we had Edwina Curry shagging John Major and telling everyone eggs were fine, but they had salmonella in. It was a weird time. This is how I remember it. And then John Gummer, who was our local MP during the mad cow disease thing, going on telly feeding his children beef burgers. Another very strange childhood memory. You're looking very wistful. You thinking about beef burgers?
I'm really I went on this long bike ride today, and I didn't really eat enough for dinner last night to sustain my bike ride.
Oh, so, that's not good.
Yeah, so like 20 kilometers in, just over 10 miles in, I just went, I want to go home.
No, and you can't like hop on a bus or something. Like, no, I've just got to cycle. I've just got to make it back home now.
In the end, I did. I was like, I'm just going to turn. I'm going to turn around and go home. And I only did. In the end, I did. I almost did all the kilometers I set out to do, but not quite. But also much slower, and it's fucking windy outside. So fuck cycling.
It's windy as shit here as well. But yeah, right. We better have a riff of the week because.
Fine.
I'm getting lots of text messages. I apologise for disturbing you. Gemma here. Would you like to have a conversation about your employment? Well, I'd have to get some employment first.
I'd like to have a conversation about my employment.
I got a lovely WhatsApp message yesterday saying, "Hi, Ben. There's a lot of people staying over and a lot of people are sharing with other people, but there's space in the old caravan and if you'd like to stay by yourself, and it's free," and then pictures of this skanky looking caravan. I just thought it looked like a swingers retreat or something on a farm. Do those two things blend?
I mean, how lonely would that be to go to a swingers retreat and you're there by yourself?
Yeah, but at least you're not going to risk hurting yourself by falling off any swings. That's just my understanding of these things.
No, fair enough.
Right, so your riff of the week is this.
I don't wanna go, 'cause I don't wanna cry. Everybody knows the way I feel inside. I just can't accept an invitation to cry. No, I don't wanna cry. No, I don't wanna cry.
That's proto about 5 different genres. Who is that?
That was The Magicians with an invitation to cry, and it's on the Nuggets compilation, the original Nuggets compilation.
Oh, I wonder actually.
And I was playing it the other day, and it's just like, a lot of stuff stands out on that compilation. It's an amazing artifact, and just that one is like, just so good. That song is so good, and then. I ended up doing a bit of research into the two songwriters to that, and one of them ended up managing Bruce Springsteen in the early years. and the other one ended up writing a few very successful songs for other people.
It's a strong song.
It's a brilliant song.
1965, undeniably strong. It's described in something
And
I
it's-
looked it up with
yeah.
as blue-eyed soul,
Yeah, but
which
it's
isn't a
also
phrase
got
I've
like,
heard.
and it's on 3/4 as well, so it's got that oompa sort of aspect to it. Yeah,
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So someone needs to do an Oompa remix over the top.
yeah. And also the vocal delivery. The vocal delivery is very soul. It is soul, but then there's sort of really nice garage guitar going on behind it. It's a shame that they didn't really. There's a compilation of their stuff, but it's a shame they didn't really.
They weren't a real band from the little bit. I've actually started doing research around these episodes. I mean,
Leave.
it's probably a bit off-brand, but I couldn't help but notice that somebody involved with the band is called Gary Boner, which I thought was worth knowing.
Oh, if we're doing that sort of research, fair enough.
Well, I assume that's where the Replacements song "Gary's Got a Boner" came from. It's a homage to the Magicians. No, they weren't really a proper band in the sense that you think. A lot of bands, well, probably still these days, get cobbled together for a release to see what happens, and if it takes off, then more comes of it. But no, that was a lovely choice. I liked that at all, and I'm going to break with Norm by choosing an actual riff for mine. Can you imagine hearing that, listening to the Sex Pistols and the Clash and the Damned, and then hearing that? That must have sounded like the record was made of sandpaper. It must have been like, fucking hell, this is intense. So if anyone doesn't know, that was Oasis. No, that was Stiff Little Fingers with Suspect Device, which is accidentally a clue for our theme of the week. But I just chose that just because that was an awakening moment in me, hearing that bit in Suspect Device by the Stiff Little Fingers. Just astonishing.
But also, what hit me there was this really long drum fill that he does.
What's
he does
that?
this really long snare fill, and it's so good. It just sort of holds.
Let's hear that again then. That's just the bass as well. It's just it's just really thunderous.
In a way, that's the first time you hear that sort of like that real punk driving lead bass that doesn't really play. That's sort of quite unique. That then became a big thing with Rancid and became a big thing with
almost like it's racing ahead of the rest of the band, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to get to the end of the song first, but very much leading rather than just being a sort of a passive backup to the guitars.
But yeah, it's that thing of like, I guess in a weird way, I could never really understand the comparisons between Rancid and the Clash, because everybody said, oh, they're just ripping off the Clash. And so actually, maybe Rancid were mostly ripping off Stiff Little Fingers.
It's the same thing when people talk about Green Day and Stiff Little Fingers. I mean, it's even in a film, in High Fidelity. First time I read the book, but then I saw the film, and the big shtick of it that one character bonds with another because he goes, oh, they put on Stiff Little Fingers in the record shop, and someone goes, oh, it's just the new Green Day, and they have like a knowing look at each other and say, I don't really get it, if I'm honest.
That to me, that's always like that thing of like, oh, you haven't, I don't know, maybe it's the thing of like, maybe it's a joke about listening closely. I don't know.
And I've seen a bunch of other people say that Green Day are basically just a Stiff Little Fingers covers band. I'm like, are they though?
Yeah, I don't see that.
No, I don't see that. Fuck them all. Right, so what's the theme this week, as hinted at by Riff of the Week?
Machines.
The machines of music. I've called the title. I've called the title. I've titled the episode.
Called the title.
I've called the title, and here is your first.
But what's the title?
The Machines of Music. Episode 129, Beat Motel podcast. That's it. So, here's your first choice. I wonder if me talking this is turning. Why did you choose that, Sam?
Because it's such a fucking brilliant song.
Who's the band and what's the name of the song?
No Means No and Machine. And I think it's from the album Why Did They Call Me Mr. Happy? And I mean, just as like a surface reading of the lyrics, it's more about sort of like, well, it's not really about being a machine. It's just about sort of, it's about coping and not having much emotion into stuff. And that's just the quick surface reading. I'm probably wrong about that, but it's just such a good. I mean, the bass playing on that and the riffs are just so good. The drums are so good. The voice is so fantastic. I just love every aspect. And the guitar's there.
It's there. I'm so glad I saw No Means No, just because they're great. The cover art for this record, it's brilliant. It's a graffiti that I'm guessing is backstage. Have you seen it? And it just says, "How fucking old are No Means No? Give it up, granddads." Which reminds me of playing a gig in Bury St Edmunds, and there used to be a band in Bury called Dawn Parade.
I think that might be the wrong cover art. That's not the album cover art.
Oh, I don't know what it is. I don't research. I'm just not doing it very well. There was a band called Dawn Parade, and somebody had written in massive letters, "Dawn Parade blow goats." And then in different handwriting underneath, entirely different pen, someone just put in brackets, "I have proof." Like the idea that some band went backstage, went, "Oh yeah, that is true. I'm going to add to this narrative." So if people are going to listen to No Means No, where should they start? What album?
I thought this is an obvious thing. I think Wrong is like the big one, but I really have I really like their sort of mid-90s stuff. Why Did They Call Me Mr. Happy? The Worldhood of the World as Such, and Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie. I'm just trying to find where Machine is. What album's Machine? And oh yeah, it's on Why Do They Call Me Mr. Happy? And they sort of Wrong is basically quite prog punk, a lot of very clever but very quickly played, whereas they slowed down in the mid-90s and got a bit more groove laden. This is the album title. It's a bit.
Why do they call him? Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But also to link it to Machines, because it's not just a surface reading. One of the Wrong brothers, and I think it is Rob Wright, sometimes known as Mr. Wrong. He has 2 children, according to Wikipedia. Was it him or John Wright? Come on. Rob Wright. This is how I do research. I do it on the fly. He does. He wrote music for a machine band, a band of robots.
Oh right.
And so it's not just, I'm not just being like, oh, it's Machine, therefore. Oh, come on.
No, I rely on you for the intellectual choices.
Band. Come on, Google. Google. Compressor Head. That's what they're called.
Good name.
And if you look up Compressor Head, it is, and the concept is they don't. I think they don't adapt the instruments for the robots. The robots are adapted, and he provides the vocals, the sound for the band, but it's all programmed. It's all like robots actually playing the instruments a lot, like real instruments.
Yeah, I have seen this before.
And they released an album, and it sort of highlights what no means no. To me, it highlighted what no means no owes to what they call Motorhead.
Well, Compressor Head's covered Ace of Spades, I've just seen. Yeah. So, yeah, very much so. Right, my next choice has a story. Sorry, here we go. Some of the drumming in the background of that just sounds like it's from an entirely different song.
Yeah.
So that song, can you guess what it was called?
Bassist got bored as well.
Did it just? That might be quite key when you find out who it is. It's. Do you want to have a guess who that is? The song's called "Check My Machine," as you can probably guess.
Burt Reynolds.
It was not Burt Reynolds. It was someone who was credited. He didn't start off on bass, but he was credited for popularising quite a sort of a poppy way of playing bass that didn't necessarily exist until he started doing it.
Level 42?
Oh no! Oh, I can see that. The sort of they call it cod reggae, like the slight reggae kind of vibe to it. But then the vocals, probably one of the most famous singers in the world. Possibly the most famous?
Aretha Franklin?
Yeah. No.
Freddie Mercury?
John Shuttleworth? No, it's not. No, somebody who's written... Oh, fuck it. It's Paul McCartney.
The vocalist?
The whole thing is Paul McCartney. It's... I watched a Trash Theory, which is a channel I've mentioned here before. I watched a really interesting video that came out a couple of days ago, a little half-hour documentary about Paul McCartney making McCartney 2. So in 1970, he released McCartney 1, so the first solo album, and then did a load Wings and all that stuff. But 1979, he set up a studio at his Scottish farm, and he bought a load of equipment, and that track... he just put together to test his equipment. Literally, I think that's why it's called Check My Machine.
Oh.
And sort of didn't really sort of do much else with it. And then started creating a load of really odd things. Like, it's the same sort of session that Temporary Secretary came out of. Have you heard that?
I don't really know Paul McCartney's solo.
No, I don't at all. Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. But if I'm honest, hearing... Check My Machine, I'm now more likely to check it out.
Play it again. We're doing doubles this episode.
We are doing doubles, aren't we? Here we go. There's a arpeggio in there which I've just realised is used in a song by Foals. But it's about 12 minutes long. The original. It's quite.
God, that took me off.
That's you've just put you off now. Like, this sounds interesting. No, fuck it. If it's that long, no way. But yeah, the record label wasn't keen on releasing it, but because it was Paul McCartney, they did, and of course it still went to #1 and then was swiftly forgotten. But there's loads of really interesting stories around it though. So there's a song called Waterfalls on it, and he said that he'd just talk nonsense when writing songs. Like famously, Eleanor Rigby or something was scrambled eggs originally. It's just same thing as on, although not as spuddy as your lad from Metallica on Some Kind of Monster, where he's going when he's trying to write lyrics or something like that. And so that's basically what he does, isn't it? Which I can see why. I mean, but so Paul McCartney wrote this lyric: "Don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to," which is utterly. What does that mean?
Isn't that a TLC song?
It's TLC. It's 100% TLC. So this weird little track called Waterfalls, which he was just like, I don't know. Apparently he never got round to writing lyrics. And I think at this time he might have been in a fairly relaxed state of mind, because this is just before, well, it's about the same time he got arrested for a second time in Japan. For he had half a pound of pot in his suitcase. I saw a clip of an interview and him just going, what was I thinking? Like, why did it? And he said, but like when the customs guy, the security or whatever at this Japanese airport opened the suitcase, it was just right there in the middle. And apparently the customs guy picked it up and he almost looked embarrassed, like, just, mate, what are you doing?
at least play the game.
Yeah, at least try and hide it. But you're not going to get half a pound of resin up Paul McCartney's ring piece, are you?
Oh, well, we don't know that.
Not with that attitude, you're not. No.
Not with that attitude. You might sellotape it to his balls, though.
Oh, I want to start an experimental noise band called Sellotaping Cannabis to Paul McCartney's testicles.
That goes in that, like, yeah. I can see a band doing that, and it just goes in that. That's a terrible band name.
But it does give you license to make awful music, because if you start a name that's that bad, your music can just be even worse. Right, so there's a little bit of education, which nearly took you down a path that you would follow, and then made you do a quick about turn. So let's go on to your second choice.
Your machine might slip on you. Push this button to help it near. Time card says that your name's Joe, but we'll call you 630.
Two songs in a row with reverbed, overdubbed drums in the background.
Yeah. That is by the Dead Kennedys. And
Really
it's a
not sounding
song
like the Dead Kennedys at all.
which I think is very impressive. And that's the song At My Job, written apparently by East Bay Ray. I mean, I don't know what other people. I don't really have an idea of what other people think about Dead Kennedy albums, but frankly, that's, I think, my favorite or second favorite after the first album. Which the first album's so unique in its sort of like energy and
I like Stiff
and
Little
so-
Fingers or The Damn Damn.
Yeah,
It's just so
yeah.
full tilt, just
Yeah.
running so fast.
Whereas this was a bit more, I found a bit more like, a bit more thought, and they put a lot more, they slowed down for a bit of it, and they put a bit more thought into the song the sort of the lyrics and stuff. I'm going to look at the controversies. Oh, this is the Penis Landscape one.
Oh, Frankenchrist.
Yeah.
With the Escher
Yeah.
thing in it. What
If you
happened?
don't know, don't Google it at school or work.
School, like the idea. Well, I'm going to say the idea that anyone under 18 is going to be listening. The idea that anyone's going to be listening to this is frankly bizarre.
If you are listening to this, go and do something better with your life. This is just...
Like Why Don't You? Do you remember Why Don't You?
No, what's that?
Why Don't You in the 80s was kids' TV. it only existed during the summer holidays, and you'd get maybe an hour a day in the morning. And there was a show made in Cardiff called Why Don't You, with a bunch of. I'm pretty sure it wasn't in Welsh, but it might as well have been growing up complete opposite side of the country. But it was called Why Don't You, and the theme tune was always Why don't you, why don't you, why don't you switch the TV off and go and do something interesting instead. That was kind of the tagline, which is a brave tagline for the producers, who I assume wanted people to watch the show, is that the intro credits tell you to turn the TV off and go and do something else. But
Yeah.
there we go.
But yeah, so apparently this album's notable for them sort of going a bit more, a bit more experimental, a bit more progressive, which is their last studio album, or no, it's their second last studio album, but it's also, I think, probably the best produced one, I personally have a lot of time for it, and I think At My Job is about the sort of the hardship of the Fordist approach to manufacturing, industrial manufacturing, and what it does, and how it just sort of works people to the bone and then throws them out on the scrap heap of humanity, and doesn't do anything with them, and doesn't have people aren't valued for them being people. They're just valued for being taking a seat in a factory and just
Warm
being
bodies.
shut down. Not even warm bodies. Just like, if we can replace you with a robot, we'll replace you with a robot. But we're not actually going to. Well, but if you can't find a job on top of that, just fuck you. We're not
Largely.
gonna...
I think I only have any income, very little income, because I make it myself. I've tried having a job, didn't really pan out, didn't really work. We ought to move on to the next choice, which is this.
Is that the Lars?
Oh, I can see it, and then like the timbre of his voice. No, it's the Oasis's. No, it's. Yeah, do you know who that is?
Yes, the Suedes.
The Suedes, of course. Metal Mickey.
Metal Mickey.
And I've realised I must be in some sort of kind of dwelling in the past kind of thing here, because Metal Mickey was. I should ask you what it is rather than being patronising. Sam, do you know what Metal Mickey was?
No.
Metal Mickey was a TV series in the 80s about a family in suburbia who live with a little robot called Metal Mickey.
Oh, that sounds like the... Yeah.
I can remember nothing about it, apart from one episode where all of a sudden Metal Mickey was about 100 feet tall for some reason. And that's it. But if you look up what Metal Mickey looked like, fucking terrifying. Do you remember... Is it Tweaky from Buck Rogers? Beady, beady, beady. No, I'm kind of using 70s references now. I'm going back. I'm slipping back further in time. But yeah, the only reason to choose that was Metal Mickey was a machine. According
to the website genius.com, Metal Mickey is a song by Suede. Yeah.
That's it.
No, it says here... quite likely about a strip club, possibly a dancer that goes by the name Metal Mickey.
What a strange name for a dancer to go by. I'm an erotic dancer. What's your name? Metal Mickey.
Songtell.com says Metal Mickey is a song by Suede.
It's really insightful. Apparently Bernard Butler said he might have ripped off the Shoop Shoop song by Cher while writing it.
Explores themes of consumerism, desire, and the allure of material possessions.
There you go. All machiney type stuff. So, next up we have this. I've never heard this band before and understood any part of them at all until you sent me this to prepare as a clip. And I suddenly went, I don't know if I could take a lot of it, but that was cool as fuck.
They do pull and push. They do this sort of like just hammering, trilling on in a very intense sort of almost like proto-Meshuggah-ish way of just hammering on one note and incredibly sort of precisely. And it's almost like, you know, that band must... The gate setting for that band must be ridiculous.
The gate, so gate, anyone who's not a recording artist, gate is like a thing you do in the studio for snapping off the reverb or the tail of any sound. So instead of going ping, you just go ping.
Yeah. And that's from that's the band Fear Factory, the song The Industrialist, which is an interesting one because I think what you did there, because I didn't really specify which Industrialist version I wanted, because 2 years ago they re-released the album. I've not listened to that album actually, but it was just a really nice... when I was searching for example of what Fear Factory do really incredibly sort of well at points, is that sort of complex rhythm where everybody's playing the same thing.
I almost find it more accessible than Meshuggah.
Yeah, I know. It's certainly more. They don't. I don't think they really venture outside 4/4 of, and they also have quite melodic moments. Frankly, they venture into sort of pop things. For me, they were the first band that I would say sort of lent towards death metal that I sort of really got into. I got into their album Obsolete, They have, you know, the guy doesn't just always do the barking thing. He also has quite a melodic voice at points. But all their music is about sort of the relationship between... It's a bit Terminator 2 as a career, or Terminator as a career, sort of in a metal band. It's all about sort of the relationship between humans and, you know, sort of overwhelming machines.
Well, some of the drums are programmed.
So that's what they did. So the first version of that album released in 2013, all the drums are programmed. The second album, the guy, the only original member of the band left, who is the guitarist, got the current live drummer to re-record the drums as a live instrument. And it does actually, you know, it's an interesting sort of like... It's an interesting sort of thing because it's literally just the drums are different, live drums.
The thing is, it's such an aesthetic, the programmed drums thing, because sort of the industrial... I'm only basing this on Optimum Wind Profile, but sort of very early 90s industrial metal was... it was all about the drum machines. From what I am talking, I'm on very shaky thin ice here. I'm on shaky thin ice, which is the worst type of thin ice. If you're going to go ice fishing in Finland, don't go on the shaky ice.
No.
Don't eat the brown snow. But it interests me. But the other thing that occurs to me when I did my little bit of on the spot research just now is that The Industrialist was is the 8th album by Fear Factory. Metal bands, anyone listening to this might not know, I've come to metal fairly late. I'd say from my mid-30s. It's for the last 10-ish years that I've kind of got properly obsessed with it. And one thing I've noticed is that metal bands seem to have a far longer run-in period to hitting their sweet spot. And I think it's because the genre is tolerant and accepting. So bands will come out with a debut that could be great, could be absolutely fantastic. But whereas a lot of indie bands or other genres will sort of peter out around album 3, or if they're on a major, get dropped after the first album, just disappear into legal wrangling and obscurity. Metal bands just carry on and on and on and on, but actually develop. Like Insomnium, when I saw them, they were playing their 5th, possibly 6th album in full. And they finished it, and they said, what should we do next? And I'm getting the numbers wrong here. But somebody in the crowd near us went, play your other 6 fucking albums. it's like Canon and Fibre, who I bloody love. Their first album's fantastic. Their second album, amazing. I'm looking forward to the 10th. Yeah, what they're going to be by then? It's really nice to have something to look forward to.
I mean, I would argue that they do and they don't. I was listening to Clutch the other day, and Clutch actually are one of those bands that they stay still at the same time as they don't stay still.
Very locked in, isn't it? They're not going to do a reggae album.
No, but at the same time, they do develop on that sound, and they do sort of they do like explore the different iterations that they can do that. I would say Fear Factory actually, second, third albums, high points, everything else has been a bit of a bit of a trying to reclaim the brilliance of those first two, that second and the third album.
So what is it that makes the first albums brilliant? Is it just because we talked about Stiff Little Fingers, Damned, and all those kind of debuts? Is it just because they were?
Well, I think for Fear Factory,
taken the rough edges off yet.
I think for Fear Factory, they the second and third album, they really locked into the aesthetic incredibly well, and the production sort of caught up. They figured out how to produce it. The first album, I don't think they had the budget, and no one had really, and it was a bit more death metal. And then the second, they sort of, I think, bought a bit more high-end production, very sort of like quite. I imagine that's quite an anal thing. That band is quite like very sort of precise to put together. So they locked into that sound, and they sort of kept with it. I think some bands, I don't really like, some bands, I don't know if I could make a rule, but some bands do, their fifth album by far it is their best, and the other ones, like the first album, they've all got it there, and everything else is sort of a pale imitation of that. And I was looking at, I don't know much about Exodus, for instance. I was looking at something about Exodus, who are a thrash metal band, who started. Kirk Hammett, the guitarist from Metallica, started in them before being poached. And I don't know their material very well, but their first album comes up again and again on lists of one of the greatest metal albums ever put out. Whereas I would say, like, in comparison, Metallica, a band whose trajectory has sort of changed, and different people like different episodes of their albums much more. And then you get someone like Meshuggah, whose stuff is like, I don't know, when they hit their stride, they've kept at that, and they explore different themes of that within their albums. But it's sort of like, could I tell you which Meshuggah albums I enjoy? Yes. Could I tell you what songs in them? Really?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, Meshuggah live were incredible, and I go back to see them in a shot.
Oh, I'd love to see them.
And I love listening to some of their stuff, but at the same time, let's be frank about it, the variation is not a lot.
I love it when bands. You've got to be fairly brave, I guess, because if you've hit some success, I mean, Canon Fibre first album, like, everyone loved it, brilliant. Right, make another one of them, crack on. Bands like Gaia not had quite that trajectory, and yet the new album is such a change. Well, the whole thing in all the reviews is that they've got clean vocals in it, which in metal, I guess, is a bit of a statement, really.
Yeah.
But that's probably the bravest thing about that album. But they're really fucking good.
Yeah.
They're really good. Shit, we're running out of time, so we need to move on. The final thing I want to say, doing my little bit of research, you're talking about the programmed drums. Yeah, they didn't tell the drummer they were doing that. He found out afterwards, because the album was actually recorded by the vocalist Burton Bell, and the guitarist Dino Cazares. So I guess Gene, can you tell I'm reading this? Gene Hoglan, who was the drummer, left afterwards. I don't know if that's
after the album, and then they replaced this album with Triggers. No,
I think from what I can tell, they recorded the album without even telling him it was happening. She went, "Oh, we've done the album." He's like, "What about my drums?" So, well, we don't need you, basically. So that
I mean, this is that thing of like they sound like more of a when you look at Fear Factory in some ways, it looked more like particularly past the first 4 albums, it looked more like a business agreement than it did a band.
Oh, that's. I want to pull into that, but we're running out of time.
We're gonna go, but I love those second and third albums. I think they're incredible.
I'm putting that on the ideas list because that is amazing. Oh shit! I'm spelling this out while I'm actually recording. Beat Motel ideas. Bands that become business. What did you call it? Bands that become
businesses rather than
business arrangements.
Yeah.
That's too much to go into in the last few minutes of this, but that's a decent subject. I think we might do that one next time. Before then, I need to play my third choice.
I'm gonna fuck this song up right now with some shit. You're gonna plug that little bitch in for me. I'm gonna make it a new wave. This fucking song.
Do you know who that was?
No, that's fucking great. What was that?
That's fucking. I chose it purely because of that bit at the beginning. I'm gonna plug this little bit. Fuck this up. It's just like just the perfect sound, and then that pounding riff comes in. That's Scissor Fight.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's kind of old now, I guess, but it's a song called Dynamite, which is it's just fucking great. You know, I said about hearing the middle eight in Suspect Device. I kind of sat up in my chair and went, oh! When I heard the start of this album, it was sent to me by, oh shit, I can't remember his name. One of the reps at Plastic Head just sent me a preview. It was like, you've got to hear this album. I can remember just putting it on in the record shop and just going, that first bit, I'm like, what the hell is it? And then it started. I was just like, whoa! I can remember feeling like the blood rushed to my face and kind of going, this is amazing. But I chose it because it sounds like he's plugging in a machine at the beginning.
This is why you like this, is be as tenuous as you want.
What, just this? No, I think most of our themed shows are fairly tenuous, but it was just a good excuse to get that stonking riff in. The song is just go look up. The album's called Jaggernaut, I think, or Jagernaut, and it's great. I don't think they've done anything since then, which is a shame. But right, on to your final choice, which is, I'm not sure I've prepared the right clip, but I did follow the link you sent.
And it too was destroyed. And the flame died.
Just, Sam, I love you dearly. What the fuck? I mean,
So
I
that-
loved it, just to be clear, just to be really clear.
I'm going to butcher this, but that is by a Hungarian composer called... The music is by a Hungarian composer called Matthias Saber. And that was from a BBC put-together footage thing, animation from the 50s called A Short Vision About Nuclear Holocaust. And it's one of the most prominent uses of the theremin, and
Go on.
that's why I chose it, because I was looking at machines as musical instruments, and the theremin is a machine, and that is an example of its use in a way that is trying to be evocative of something otherness, which the theremin is mostly used as.
I honestly, well, that explains that sound. You can't get a smooth slide down with anything like that. I just thought you chose it because it sounded like a machine shutting down. Which I'm guessing, is that what it's meant to be?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's when the bomb's gone off, and I think you should link. If anybody does watch this, they should watch. And apparently, it was shown on the Ed Sullivan Show in America.
Bloody hell, really?
Yeah. And then he was a Hungarian escapee to the UK before the Second World War, and yeah.
It's great. Instantly, I'm going to put a link to the Paul McCartney documentary in the show notes because it's really cool. It's worth watching. But when I just played this, it made me realise there is a lot of very, very old music I want to look into. I don't know when I'm going to do it, like a Sunday afternoon by myself or something. Like Stockhausen and there's just so many. There's so many 1950s, early 1950s people basically fucking around with oscillators, and everyone always defaults to Delia Derbyshire and Stockhausen, but the magic apples, but magic silver apples. But there's so much else. There's so much there.
So one of the things that made me interested in this composer was Saber, was that he was a Hungarian emigre to London in the 1930s, like my grandfather was. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and he wrote in the 1940s, before he wrote this, he wrote 2 comic operas during the Second World War, which were written by
comic operas. What a phrase!
It was written the story was written by a guy called in Hungarian. You're not my mother. George Mikes or Mikes, who wrote a book called How to Be an Alien, which is about his experiences of English culture as a Hungarian. But George Mikes or Mikes used to play tennis with my grandfather.
Oh, bloody hell! Okay.
So, I'm getting in my 3 degrees of separation.
Nice, right? We're going to rattle out my last track because it's this.
That just sort of oscillating upwards thing is quite big in dance music then.
Oh yeah, well, we had one last week, didn't we? That had that on it. But this is kind of it's not a pastiche; it's more of a homage to that. So the artist is someone I don't think I ever really got anywhere, called Fatboy Slim.
No, never heard
of him. And the track is "Everyone Needs a 303." So that sound is a Roland 303, which is one of the cheapest bits of musical equipment you can buy. Well, not the originals, but Behringer released a clone. You can buy them for like 50 quid, and they sound fucking insane. That's really like overdoing it in that respect, but it's a machine. And I just love the fact how sort of knowing and self-congratulatory and self-celebrating that title is. Everyone needs a 303. And you can buy one if you want. They're piss cheap. But that's basically what that sound is. It's a machine.
It's a machine.
It's a machine, yeah. Last week, we were terrifyingly close to being absolutely perfectly on time. And this week, we've got 48 seconds. Probably a little bit less than that.
Oh, shall we say something controversial?
I think anyone who's listening to this riding a tractor at the moment is probably having a lovely old time. I'd love to have a go in a tractor. You ever fancied driving large vehicles?
No, I don't like responsibility.
Well, no, if you could just do it on like a track day, but you can do it as a. I did a track day, and
watch out! Don't go over time.
Pootled around because they put me in a Ferrari, which I was too big for, and then they said, look, if you crash any of these, then you've got to replace them. And I thought that sounds like a bad idea.
I don't know.